We wrote pieces about Colorado, past and present.
This year, the first piece is about the Gates Rubber Factory, and the second piece is about postcards from a mining town.
Once we read each piece, the choreographers invented new works to bring to the stage.
I remember going to work in a Denver that was smaller, sparser, dustier.
My Denver is gentrified, from Colfax and Broadway to the streets of Lodo, and because I am young and dissatisfied, I worship what is grimy and cracked.
My girl packed me a sandwich in a tin, and I became but one set of gills, a single fish in a school of tired overalls floating in and out of that factory like we were riding the tides.
Driving home south on I-25 in the polluted light of evening, the old rubber factory rose into a sky the color of peach sorbet, and I was nostalgic for a life unknown.
Shift after shift spent at a conveyor belt made hours pass like molasses, but the weeks like water. I was damn proud to be an American, to labor with my hands, and even the sweat I licked from my upper lip tasted like progress.
The headlines are gruesome. Girl, 17, falls through floor in Old Gates Rubber Building. Urban Explorer paralyzed, in critical condition. Urban Explorer dead.
When I was a father, I gave my son my name so he would dream of me and one day work by my side.
Toxic spills, demolition, out of money, neighborhood associations angry. The clock there hasn't worked in years. No trespassing.
I took for granted the tides that carried me in and out of that factory for 27 years in a sort of circadian rhythm.
Flanked by modernity, as it is today, Gates Rubber Factory is defiance. It is survival, as if they are one and the same.
Tides are unpredictable, and this one crossed the sea. When I lost my job in '84, my son was 17, and he wanted to be a writer. I told him he was the same age I was when I went to work, that he couldn't support a family with a pen. But he shook his head and said something beautifully ignorant about change.
I think of Gates as a corpse, and want to die like that, because in spite of the brokenness, the inspiration still breathes.
Old Gates has been in the news again lately because a boy from Iowa paid $250 to save it.
Even when the building is long gone, people will still exist who saw snowflakes and extraordinary flora in the outlines of broken glass. And it is they who are worth saving, rather than the crumbling monument itself.
The boy, Eugene Eliot, in all his romantic glory, has an enviable spirit. Desperately fundraising to save a building he barely knows in a town that isn't his, he reminds me of a boy I used to know. He reminds me of his opponent, my son, the real estate developer who dreams of writing books.
I pity the boy, with the impossible goal of preservation, who seems not to realize that he is fighting big money and that he will lose.
Some kids these days love the old place, and for what? They never saw it working, and they never even saw it clean. The wiring has been stripped to the bone by junkies on the quest to pay for their latest escape. There is nothing useful left there. What people cannot fathom is that we can't save everything, least of all that which needs saving the most, and for entirely the wrong reasons.
I will never disregard the posted warnings. I will never hide myself in murky corners and lose my breath in 4 stories of unplanned freefall. My Gates is but a metaphor. It's safer that way.
We never used telephones, if you can imagine. They were expensive, some would say. Others would make the argument that they were tools of business.
Or that telegraphs were just cheaper to send.
But I think it is embodied in the Western spirit not to take something for its convenience. In the West, everything the eye can see is so new.
The only thing one has to hold on to is tradition. Thus prevailed the 1-cent stamp.
Postcards were a way of life.
A way to pass information at a relaxed pace for casual instances.
Letters were for lovers who could not condense their thoughts.
And for those who grieved,
that their sorrow could be replicated in their loved ones.
They were for thoughts meant to be private and tucked away in the heart.
But postcards served any other purpose.
Some were gay and closely packed with words,
and reminded me of a loved one running to catch up with the train until the end of the platform came, and
others were terse, unrevealing.
But they all represented small scenes of intimacy.
Dear Rose, I received your card and found Charlie and May without any trouble.
Dear
they had
Alice,
received your letter telling
wish
about
you a
Mary's
happy
father.
Easter.
I had no
Maud
idea
is going
he
to
was
South
so
Park
special.
Day.
Tell
wish
him
when you
I
come
made
in
over
and bring
200
$2
Edna
all.
is so much
I'm
better.
going back
Joe's
to
will have the
Pittsburgh
same
tomorrow.
for you if you
Well.
have them.
Lovingly,
love
They
to
have
all.
dinner at
Edna.
From
noon,
Mother.
so don't be late in getting there. Winnie.
Postcards are as stars.
infinitely infinite.
They are as small as the people who write them, one swirling mass of words that get sucked up into a rotating jumble, trying to make sense of life before getting lost to the indifference of pleasant indifference, lives reduced to the crossing of T's and I's spread over them as a coroner's, but no fate so dreadful as that of the hands which crafted them.
Where the Sangre de Cristos bled on the Purgatory Valley in the red morning light,
Sleep the foundations of Primero.
Every day men would appear from patched houses and descend into the tunnels where light echoed on into the dark as a water ripple.
At the height of production, Primero's miners produced 3,000 tons of coal per week.
Of the 600 black-faced employees, 60% were foreign, lured from the farming villages of Hungary
And the cities of Italy by the promise of the high desert.
The 23rd of January 1907, 24 men were reclaimed for the earth.
An explosion in the mine ignited the invisible cloud of methane gas and coal dust, killed by the open flame of the headlamp, which beckoned them forward into the dark.
It took 3 days for the bodies to be recovered.
3 days to know who had missed the suffocation of the canaries in the tunnels, the deaths that marked their own.
It is no wonder man put hell beneath his feet.
A star is born in a cloud of gas and dust. Particles so infinitely attracted, they condense and combust, nuclear fusion obsessing them.
and it is as to fall in love. We too are born of gas and dust,
Of dark tunnels of light that echo on like a water ripple.
Forever going on.
And on.
And on.
and on to hot baths black as faces from the underworld. Gas and dust condensed infinitely into faces
And loves.
And letters.
We are all the stuff of stars.
Molecules attracted by virtue of light.
And we
and
are but mirrors for miracles, infinitely finite.
And now we are standing in a hall of mirrors.
If we are reflections of light,
And postcards are reflections of us, then perhaps
the stars are reflections of us too.
Scientists sit in their lab coats reflecting.
Did the universe create life to contemplate its own existence?
There are labs that search for evidence to disprove our loneliness. Radio waves number off into
1,
the secluded
2,
corners of the
3.
galaxy.
5.
Perhaps
7,
someday
11,
someone will find us,
13,
recognize
17,
us,
19,
reflect our own
23,
humanity back at
19,
us.
17,
And perhaps postcards
13,
are as stars
11,
and radio
7,
waves,
5,
mirrors for us
3,
to stand in front
2,
of, parts
1.
of our own humanity, scenes to create stories from.
Dear friend, I am so glad you are getting along so well and hope
My
you will
dears,
soon be able
will
to
not
come
get
home.
your letters written in
I
time.
sure would have went to
Got
see
word
you if I
Ology is
hadn't have
coming
had
over
some
this
trading to
PM.
do.
Was
But
over
I
to
was
Mr.
afraid
Friend
I would
last
miss
night.
my
How
train
is your
for flight.
grandpa's
passed
arm?
But I
away
thought of you
yesterday.
every
Hope
day.
you're all
He
well.
leaves tomorrow.
Have you
Your
seen
friend,
Aunt Sarah,
Mrs.
Uncle
Mrs.
Jack?
Agnew.
Go.
Where is
Too
it
bad,
Molly's
but
going
she
to
is
move?
out of her suffering.
Goodbye, Lois Moore.
Kind of gloomy, dismal day today. With love, May.
13.7 billion years in the making.
And we still ask, what makes us human?